Hello, welcome back. This is Maurice Gimba, and today we want to add some connections on the cable side of this curved truss. This is part 8, and today I want just to show you how we can add bracings and also how we can create some connections here, even if we don't find, if we fail to get the appropriate macro to create a connection between these members. So I'll show you how we can create manual connections also. Now, you can see I've just placed these members, but there is no connection at all. But I'll show you how we can create connection. You can see that this member, that member, there's no absolute connection here. So I'll also create a connection between this column to upper top chord here. Though you can just see I've just placed a member that will be creating a link or a connection between the top chord of our truss and the column. You can see if I zoom out, you can be able to see we have that in place. So we'll create some connection. Though you can just check all the way. I have members here, I have a member here, connection between the cable column and the top chord of our truss. Let me just turn that around so that you can have a clear look of that. Now let's just get started right away. Let's first of all start with the connection on top here. So I'll just select that joint and right click and hold and move my mouse like that. I'll be able to rotate accurately. Now I want to create a connection between this top chord and my column. Now where to get the best macro to create a connection between this member and this member and this member? I'll come to beam and column, and I'll come straight to general connection end plate, general end plate connection right there. So I'll click that one, and the moment as I invoke that command, you'll be able to see instruction here, select mainframe or main plate. So this column will be our mainframe. So if I select on that and come and select on that particular member, I'll be able to see I have created an end plate connection there. But the bolts center to center distances are not the best. And we have to modify that so that it can give us space between this pipe and the bolts itself. Now I just select any part of this connection, then type letter M on my keyboard and enter on my keyboard. Then that will bring this setting dialog box or a dialog box with this end plate macro setting. So since I have already placed my settings in place, I'll just go ahead and pick my settings under macro presets. The reason why I prefer this is because it saves a lot of time than juggling around and creating connections here. So I'll just come to my macro presets here and click on this drop down arrow, and I'll pick one that I had customized. Now I'll pick end plate 1. So the moment I pick end plate 1, I'll click load. So the moment I click load, I'll click apply. So if I click apply, you'll be able to see this adjust itself. So if you come to pictures, you'll be able to see we have the connections here. You can see my settings are here. So that's how you can adjust that. You create your connections, then come to presets, click save as, and save that particular setting for that particular connection, and you'll be able to save your time, save a lot of time. Now I'll do the same thing here. In here, I'll come to that general end plate and click this column and that column, and click and right click to terminate that command. I'll go ahead and click any part of that connection, then type letter M and enter on my keyboard. Then I'll come to presets here and pick my preset setting, and I'll just click load and click apply and give it an OK. So I'll just go ahead and create more connections between the cable column and the top chord of our curved truss. So let me just go ahead and create a connection between that, and just type any member of that connection, any part of that connection, type letter M and click and press enter on your keyboard, and change that, modify that setting by placing your preset settings that I had saved on my Comosys software. Now let me go ahead and click apply and give it an OK. But you only click apply after clicking load. Then come here and click apply, and that will effect the changes right there. So I'll go ahead and do the same thing here. I'll come here and select this, select that, and select any part of that, type letter M and enter, and modify that connection. So let me just pick on that, pick on end plate 1, click load and click apply, and that will effect the changes that right there. So let me just continue and finalize this. so that we don't take a lot of time doing the same thing. Now let me select on that, type letter M and enter, and bring to bring that preset setting dialog box for that particular connection. I click load and click apply and give it an OK right there. So there's one remaining here. I can just go ahead and do the same thing here. Select on that, and right click and select any part of that connection. Type letter M and enter on your keyboard to bring this preset connection. And I'll apply that and click load and give it an apply. And then I'll click that apply button to effect the changes. I'll do the last one here. Select on this, that, and right click and select any part of that connection, type letter M and enter, then come to presets here, select on that, and click load and apply. So that's it. And if you come at the far end here, we don't need any, but we can add a connection or a shorter tie beam between this member, between this column and that column. So let's start it all the way from this far end here. So if I come and select this joint here, then right click and hold, I'll be able to turn around that. So I want to create a connection between this column and this. So I want to link this column and this column by tie beam. So how do I place that tie beam? I'll come to beam here and still, then I'll just mouse over my cursor over that until I see a red snap there. I'll snap on that spot and snap on this spot. So if I come here and select on that, then right click and hold and turn this like that, I'll be able to come back here and select, double click on this to see which type of this particular profile. And I want to give it a different profile. So I want to use a pipe. I want to use a CH, circular hollow section. So I'll just double click the top chord here. I want to use a similar size. So I'll just right click, just select and right click and pick on copy, then close that. Now I'll come to this member I've just created at the bottom end here, double click on it. Then this will bring this dialog box for profiles. I'll right click under profile name and paste that profile here. Then I'll go ahead and click. I can use set as profile. If you set up the profile, every beam you create will be the same CHS or circular hollow section. So I'll go ahead and click apply and give it an OK. So I have this in place. So I want to offset this upward by a particular distance. I right click and come to spatial copy or spatial move here and select linear. So if I come to linear, I want to bring it somewhere here. So I'll come to Z axis and just type maybe 5 meters will be okay. If I type 5 meters, and that will be on that spot. You can see that it is in that location, but slightly higher. And I want to bring it slightly down. I right click and come to spatial move and pick linear. So downward, I'll move by 200, select 200. So moving down, I have to prefix this dimension by negative sign right there and click move. So let me just turn it around so that I see whether it is in the right position. I think that would be okay. Now, in here, we can also create a connection here. And I don't want my connection to interfere with the connection this far end. So we have to take it up slightly up. And to take it up, come to move, spatial move, and pick linear. And I want to take it slightly up by 100 right there, and click move. So that would be okay. That position will be okay for me. And if I turn that around, I'll be able to apply the same connection here. If I select on that member, select on that member, select on this member, and we have created that. So we have also to adjust this, select any part of that connection, type letter M, and enter on your keyboard. Then come and apply our preset connections here. Pick on and end plate, click load, and apply. That one we have. So let's look on the other end if there's any conflict or collision. There's none, so we can retain it on that spot. So we'll apply the same connection this far end. And prior to that, we have to create a connection here. So if you take a closer looking and see, we have a column here and a beam here. And if you try to apply the best macro to connect this column and this column, let's see which one will work for us. And if I pick on this and pick on this column and select on that, then right click, I'll be able to see this is not the best connection I would like to apply here, because I don't need the haunch, this gusset plate at the bottom end here, I don't want. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a manual connection. So I'll go ahead and click undo. So the moment I click undo, I want to create a moment connection here. I want to create a manual connection here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a different tool and edit I'll come to edit here and pick on cut. So if I click on this drop down arrow, select that, and I'll come to fit. I'll come to fitting, select on that. So the moment as I pick on fitting, you'll be able to see select part to be cut. I want to select this part and select the surface to fit this member. I'll select this surface. So you can see the part that was intruding or extending inside this particular column has been chopped off or has been trimmed off. Now I want to create a plate here that will be welded to this beam, and we will bolt it again to this particular column. Now we need to create that end plate. We need some bit of guidelines, and to create the guidelines we need to create, we have to use the points. These points will help us to create the plate. Now I'll come to points here and snap on this far end here. Just make sure you snap on the accurate position, and I'll snap on that spot and zoom out and snap on this particular end, and that's it. So what I'm going to do once again, I'm going to offset these points upward by some millimeters. So let me just select that and press Control, and select on this and press Control. Then I'll right click and come to Spatial Copy, and I'll pick on Linear. So I want to offset this upward by some few millimeters right there. So let me just feed in here 50. 50 will be okay. Let me just type 50 there. So if I click 50, I'll be able to see I have my plate slightly up by it, but it's slightly the offset is somehow extreme, but I want to just to uh, minimize the gap. Let me just create a point there, and also create a point there by using that options of dividing points. So I'll snap on this spot and snap on this spot to get the midpoint in between these 2 points. So I'll snap on that spot right there. So snapping there, you'll be able to see I have a point here. So these points here, I have no use for them. I just delete them. I just have to delete them. So what I'm going to do, I want to copy these points at the bottom. So how do I do that? I select this point, and select this point here. Then right click and come to copy, and I want to copy it from that spot and move all the way through the bottom end here. Let me snap on that spot right there. So let me just turn it around so that you see if the points are located in the location that will be useful to us, and exactly that is useful, and we can apply that. So if I come here under steel and I come to plate, and I want to create a plate here, so I'll snap on that spot and snap on that particular spot, then move to the bottom end here. Let me just snap on that spot right there and come here. Now we are creating a plate that will be welded to this beam, and that plate will be bolted to this particular column. Because we've just walked over these macros, but we found that there is none particular macro that will be able to help us here. So let me just create one. Though we can apply that, but I want just to give you many ways of how we can create connection. So what you're creating here is a manual end plate connection. So I've created a plate here, but if you double click on this plate, you'll be able to see the thickness is 20 millimeter, but 20 millimeters is way big. We can reduce that to 10 millimeter. So if I go ahead and click apply and give it an OK, you can still see there's some slight correlation here. The plate is slightly embedding inside this particular column. So how do we avoid that? Just double click on this particular plate and come to position depth. So I'll come to this drop down arrow here and click on that and pick the option front here. So this will bring the plate forward instead of embedding that plate inside the column. So I'll go ahead and click apply and give it an OK. You can see that plate's coming up. So you can also see the plate is also colliding, or there's some collision between the plate and the beam. So how do you do that? You can go back and apply the same tool, which is called fitting. So to get the tool, the fitting tool, will come to edit here and come all the way to cut and pick fitting. So once we've invoked the fitting command, we'll come to the bottom end here and first of all check the instruction here. You can see select object to be cut. We want to cut this beam. So to what surface? We'll select that surface right there. You can see that has been done. Now we want to weld this, but that one will be done later on once we've created the bolting between this plate and the beam and the column right there. So how do you place the bolts? So to place the bolts, you have to first of all to apply the points, so that will help us which will help us in creating the bolts. So let's apply that in the next presentation, and keep watching, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and let's meet then on the next presentation on where I'll be showing you how you can apply the bolts and apply the same connection to all other connections that are similar to the one we just created here. So let's meet then. Bye bye. Don't forget.